Brothers Peter and Michael, I sincerely hope you will not start our dialogue by calling me a heretic, but will instead accord me the same courtesy I will offer you by debating the subject matter at hand, remembering that virtue is patience, while the truth is being sought. Remembering that virtue is patience while the truth is being sought. It is not very prudent or Catholic for that matter to call someone a heretic when you yourselves are wrong, even if you don't know it. These are all mistakes and can be undone with humility and Catholic teaching. However, let us get to the issues at hand. My first condemnation on your theory of baptismal desire lies in the fact that St. Augustine has already upheld this to be a fact and even gives an example of such by stating that if a person were to become a catechumen and had vowed to become a Catholic, he would be saved if some unforeseen event prevented him from doing so. And baptism will be supplied by desire. This is also upheld in the 1917 Code of Canon Law. Before I give you the evidence, think about how ridiculous this is. Think about how ridiculous this is, right? The Church's Code of Canon Law, which Pope Benedict XV promulgated with the fullness of his apostolic authority, binding the Church in perpetuity, that teaches baptismal desire. And you still have to convince the diamonds that they're wrong. How absurd is that? How absurd is that? The Church's canon law teaches this. And you still have to try to convince the diamonds that they're wrong. They can't just see that. You see? So they're very, very blinded. And I don't know why they're so blinded. Because as far as I know, they've been Feeneyites for what? For probably 30 years? For a significant amount of time. I would assume probably like since the 90s or something, right? So it's like 30 years at this point. So it's very strange. It's just bizarre to me. It's like, how can they really believe that all, as I mentioned before, the canon law, all these popes, saints, daughters of the church are all wrong and they're right? It's just so absurd, you know? It's just really baffling. It is really quite a baffling thing. And it's so weird because Feeneyites, like, their entire thought process is so bizarre, man. It's so bizarre. It's like I met a Feeneyite 2 years ago, right? This guy messaged me on Facebook. And I told him that I believe that Father Michael Muller's The Catholic Dogma, I think I said I believe it's the most important Catholic work in the past 200 years, something like that. And he said he agreed, right? So I assumed that this guy believed the truth, right? Because he said he agreed that Father Michael Muller's work is the most important in the past 200 years. So I was like, okay, this guy believes the truth then. I just assumed he believed the truth. And then I later found out the guy was a Feeneyite. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, why would you agree with me that Father Michael Muller's The Catholic Dogma is the most important theological work of the past 200 years, and you reject what he taught in it? Like, what the heck? That was so baffling to me. I could not comprehend that. I was like, that makes no sense. But then later, I realized that it makes sense to a Feeneyite. To them, there's no problem there, because they believe that basically, but most of the church's official documents, whether it be catechisms, canon law, theology books, even letters written by the Pope, whatever it is, they believe that all these things have this error of baptismal desire, right? It's nonsense. It's not an error. So to him, for example, St. Thomas Aquinas, Summa Theologica, right? They would say, oh, it's a great work, but it taught the error of baptismal desire. That's to them, that's the logical thing. To them, that makes sense because there is no Feeneyite doctor of the church. There's no Feeneyite saint, right? Because Feeneyism is contrary to Catholic teaching. So they don't have any authority that is a Feeneyite. So the only authorities that they can look up to while claiming to be Catholic are people who are not Feeneyites. So therefore, to them, it makes sense to call a work a great work while it taught something that they think is an error or heresy. You see what I'm saying? So for them, that makes sense in their messed up minds. But to me, who believes the truth, it makes no sense because it actually really doesn't make sense. It's stupidness. It's actually stupidness. Why would you say that a work is great, right? The greatest work of the past 200 years, and you believe it taught nonsense on salvation? That's just stupid. But to them, it makes sense. This is why I said I don't talk to people anymore, man. This is why I do not talk to these people anymore. Do not talk to these people. Do not do it. Just don't do it, man. Like if God so calls you to, of course, that's, between you and God. But generally speaking, don't talk to these people, man. Do not talk to these people. It's just frustrating to listen to this stupidness.